Good day. We are glad to welcome you again on our channel.
Golden Antelope, Part, Zishisot Words, a completely original fairy tale in classic style. Part Gudin, the whispering plains and the boy named Liran long before kings carved roads across the land, and long before merchants sowed their coins like seeds of ambition, there existed a quiet region known as the Whispering Plains. From afar, the plains looked like an ocean of tall golden grasses swaying beneath the gentle sky. But to those who lived nearby, they were alive with the soft murmur of old magic. When the wind blew, the grasses whispered secrets, some of the past, some of the future, and some that no human ear could understand. At the very edge of these plains, between a shallow river and a lonely grove of tamarind trees, lived a boy named Liran, 14 summers old, barefoot, restless, and clever in the way only children raised by open skies can be. His home was a simple hut of packed clay and woven thatch, built by his grandfather, who had long since returned to the earth. His parents had been wanderers, kind, curious, full of stories, and they had traveled far across the plains until sickness took them one bitter year. Liran could barely recall their faces now, only the sound of their laughter dancing in his memory like sparks from a fire. He lived alone, but never lacked companionship. The plains were generous. Every morning a small band of prairie foxes came to warm themselves on the smooth stones outside his hut. A tall gray heron named Psalm often watched him from the river, croaking disapproval if he forgot to wash his hands before meals. And at night, when the air cooled and the stars stretched their crystalline nets across the heavens, a wise old jackal named Haro came to sit beside Liran's fire. Haro was no ordinary animal. No creature of the whispering plains truly was. His fur glimmered silver under moonlight. His eyes were sharp and yellow as twin lantern flames, and though he never spoke with human words, his gestures carried meaning deeper than speech. Liran understood him the way one understands a familiar melody. The boy caught grasshoppers for him, and Haro brought news from the wild, where the lions moved that season, where the rains would fall, what strange travelers had passed the distant dunes. Yes, travelers. The plains were never entirely empty. They stretched like a sleeping giant, peaceful on the surface but full of buried stories. And it was a traveler who changed Liran's life. But not a human. The night of the falling stars. It began on an evening when the sky performed one of its rare miracles. Every few decades, the heavens would open like a great shimmering curtain and let fall hundreds, sometimes thousands of tiny blue stars. They streaked across the darkness, leaving trails of silver fire that lingered for heartbeats before dissolving back into the night. People from distant lands would come to watch, setting up campfires and feasting under the sky. But this year, only Liran and Haro witnessed it, for the nearest village was still 3 hours away, and the plains had been unusually quiet. Liran stood barefoot in the grass, head tilted back, mouth slightly open in awe. The falling stars brushed the sky like glistening rain. "It's beautiful," he whispered, though no one answered. Haro nudged his hand. His ears twitched nervously. "What is it?" Liran asked. "It's only the starfall. Grandfather said the plains love it." But Haro growled softly, not warning, but something close to anticipation. And that's when Liran heard it. A low, melodic hum, almost like a flute, drifting on the wind, a sound not born of any creature he knew. It grew clearer as the grasses parted before an approaching glow, a soft golden glow. Liran's breath caught. Out from the plains stepped a creature of both elegance and myth, an antelope the color of sunlight. Her coat shimmered not like metal, but like woven rays. Her horns curled delicately back over her head, glowing faintly at their tips. Her hooves barely bent the grass. The golden antelope. Even Haro bowed his head, something Liran had never seen him do for any being. The antelope's eyes, deep amber and strangely human, met Liran's. "You see me," she said. She did not speak aloud, yet her voice echoed within his thoughts like the tone of a distant bell. Liren swallowed hard. Yes, I think so. Few mortals can, she said gently. Your heart hears what your ears cannot. The boy dared to step closer. I've heard stories of you, he said. They say you bring fortune or disaster. The antelope smiled, if such a creature can smile. That is true, but only because humans make it so. Before Liren could ask more, she flicked her ears sharply. Harrow growled again, this time in warning. A faint tremor ran through the ground, then another, and another. Hoofbeats, but not of deer or antelope. Horses, multiple horses. The golden antelope's glow dimmed with fear. They are hunting me, she whispered. I did not wish to bring danger to your home. Who? Liren asked, heart pounding. Men who desire gold more than life. They believe capturing me will grant them endless wealth. She turned to flee, but staggered. Her foreleg trembled violently. A thin line of blood trickled down her side. Liren gasped. You're hurt. They cornered me across the ravine, she said softly. I escaped, but not without cost. The hoofbeats grew louder. Liren made his decision in a heartbeat. Come, he said. I know a place to hide. The antelope hesitated. If they find you helping me, they will not show mercy. I don't care, Liren said, and for the first time a spark of hope lit in the antelope's eyes. He led her toward his hut, but they wouldn't reach it before the hunters did. Liran, whispered a sharp voice. It was Salmi the heron, flapping down from the riverbank. Men approached from 3 sides, circle closing. Another voice came from the shadows, soft, trembling. It belonged to Piri, a small field mouse who had lived under Liren's sleeping mat for years. Hide her in the root hollow. Quick! Liren nodded. All his animal friends were here, helping, protecting. Perhaps the plains themselves were holding their breath. He guided the golden antelope to the hollow beneath the twisted roots of the tamarind tree. Harrow positioned himself in front, looking like just another jackal in the night. Salma flew high to watch. The hoofbeats thundered closer. And then the hunters arrived. Part 2. The Hunters of the Iron Crest. The night grew tense as the hunters approached, their torches casting sharp orange streaks across the whispering plains. From behind the tamarind tree's tangled roots, Liren held his breath. The golden antelope trembled beside him, her glow dimmed to a faint ember. Harrow crouched near the entrance like a guardian of stone. 4 riders emerged first, their horses snorting clouds of heat into the cool evening air. Their cloaks bore the emblem of a black falcon wrapped around an iron crest, the symbol of Lord Karun, the wealthiest noble of the region. Behind them came 3 more, archers with steel-tipped arrows, each looking more ruthless than the last. But at their center rode the man who seemed to command them all. He was tall and gaunt, with sharp cheekbones and a gaze like a cracked blade. His armor was black lacquer, shining like obsidian, and a long scar ran from his brow to his chin. His name, whispered with fear across villages, was Captain Sareth, the right hand of Lord Karun, known for catching what others deemed uncatchable. His horse stomped the ground as he surveyed the area. She is close, Sareth growled, voice low and cold. This time she will not escape. Liron's heart raced. He pressed a hand against the golden antelope to calm her. She breathed unevenly, pain flickering through her eyes. One of the archers dismounted and knelt beside the grass. There is blood here, the man said. Fresh. Sareth's lip curled in a grim smile. Then she is injured. Good. A wounded creature is easier to corner. He pointed toward Liron's hut. Search there. Liron froze. Salmi the heron swooped through the air, letting out a deliberate screech. The archers flinched. Birds of this region shriek oddly, one muttered. No, said Sareth. They warn each other. His gaze narrowed. And they warn their friends. Liron felt his stomach twist. Did Sareth suspect something? 2 footmen approached Liron's hut and pushed open the door roughly. From inside came only the clatter of cooking pots. Liron had left it empty earlier. No one here, one man called. Then she hides elsewhere, Sareth snapped. Fan out. She couldn't have gone far. The hunters scattered across the plains. For a moment, Liron thought they were safe. But then a horse pushed through the grass, right toward the tamarind tree. Its hooves seemed to aim straight for the hollow where he and the antelope hid. The rider leaned forward. Liren recognized him. Tavo, a young hunter he had once met at the village market. They had even exchanged a few friendly words. But tonight Tavo's eyes were clouded with ambition, not kindness. He scanned the ground near the tree. Harrow bristled, ready to attack. "No," Liren whispered, placing a gentle hand on his back. Too late. Tavo swung off his horse, with a flicker of recognition in his eyes as he spotted Liren's bare foot sticking out from behind a root. "Halt!" Tavo shouted. "Someone's here!" Liren felt the golden antelope tense behind him. Her breath quickened. Tavo stepped closer and pushed aside the branches shielding the hollow. There, in the shadows, he saw her, the golden antelope. His eyes widened, reflecting her faint glow. He reached for the horn at his belt to sound the alarm, but froze. Because Liren spoke, softly, honestly. "Tavo, please," the boy said. "She's hurt. If they take her, they'll torture her, sell her, drain her magic until she dies. Is that what you want?" Tavo's jaw tightened. "I have orders. You don't have to follow them," Liren said desperately. "Not this time." Tavo hesitated. His hand trembled, hovering between loyalty and conscience. Then, "Tavo!" Captain Sareth's voice split the night. Tavo jerked back as Sareth marched through the grass, his black armor turning ember bright under torchlight. "What are you doing?" Sareth demanded. Tavo swallowed. "Sir, I—" But Sareth saw Liren, and beyond him, the faint gleam of gold. His eyes flared with victory. "She's here!" he breathed. After years of chasing shadows, finally! He raised his hand. "Hunters! To me!" Hoofbeats thundered from all directions. Liren stepped protectively in front of the golden antelope. "Stop! You can't take her!" Sareth stared at him with a cruel smile. "And who are you to command me, child?" "A friend," Liren said, "and this creature is not yours." Sareth laughed. "Everything rare in this land belongs to Lord Karun. Gold most of all." He snapped his fingers. Two hunters seized Liren by the arms. Harrow lunged, but Sareth kicked him aside with cold precision, sending the jackal rolling across the ground with a desperate yelp. Liren cried out, "Harrow!" The golden antelope's glow flared with anguish. "Do not harm the boy," she said, not aloud, but so strongly that every man felt the tremor of her voice. Even Sareth paused. Then his smile sharpened. "You can speak," he murmured. "The legends were true." He gestured toward his men. "Bind her legs." The hunters moved forward with ropes of woven iron, material forged specifically to capture magical creatures. The golden antelope stepped back, trembling. Liren struggled in the men's grip. "Don't touch her!" He managed to twist violently, freeing one arm. With raw desperation, he threw himself forward, knocking into one of the hunters. The man stumbled, dropping his rope. Sareth backhanded Liren across the face. The world flashed white. "Enough!" the captain snarled. "The boy comes with us. He clearly knows too much." At that moment, Salmi the heron swooped down, flapping his massive wings wildly at the hunters, pecking at their hands. Pyri the mouse darted between their legs, squeaking furiously. "Get these animals away from me," one man shrieked. The plains exploded into chaos, feathers, dust, curses, hooves. But Sareth did not engage in the frenzy. He went straight for the golden antelope. And though she tried to leap away, her injured leg buckled. Sareth looped the iron rope around her neck. She cried out silently, as if the pain echoed through the very ground. "No," Liren gasped. The second rope tightened around her hind legs. Sareth pulled, and the antelope crumpled. Her glow dimmed until she looked like a normal creature, one stripped of magic, one subdued. Sareth exhaled in triumph. "At last!" He looked at Liren, eyes cold as flint. "You will walk beside the antelope. If you flee or fight, we'll break her legs one by one. Understood?" Liren stared at him with hatred bright as fire, but he nodded. The whispering plains grew silent. The hunters formed a ring around their captives. Sareth raised his torch. "Return to camp," he ordered. "At dawn, we bring her to Lord Karun." The procession began. Liren walked with the golden antelope beside him, her breath shallow, her magic suppressed by the iron coils. Harrow limped behind them in the shadows. Salmi circled overhead, silent now. Pyri followed through the grass like a fleeing spark. And though the plains whispered with the voices of ancient magic, none dared speak loud enough to stop the hunters. The night swallowed them all. Part 3. Golistan Loanwood Words. Part 3. The Palace of Lord Karun. Dawn broke over the whispering plains in pale streaks of lavender and rose. The hunting party had traveled the entire night, stopping only once to water their horses at a shallow stream. The golden antelope moved stiffly at Liren's side, her hooves dragging in exhaustion. Each time she stumbled, Liren steadied her as best he could despite the ropes binding her legs and neck. Captain Sereth rarely spoke. When he did, his voice cracked the morning air like a whip. "Faster," he ordered. "Lord Curran waits." Liren glared at him whenever their eyes met. His cheeks still ached from Sereth's blow, and his hands were raw from the cords that had held him earlier. But he made no sound of complaint. The golden antelope needed him, more than his own pain mattered. Harrow followed from a distance, favoring one hind leg. He limped with determination, refusing to fall behind. Salmi flew far above, a gray shadow in the brightening sky. Peary darted silently through the tall grass, little more than a flicker. After many hours, the plains gave way to a steep slope covered in stone steps. At the top rose Karan's fortress, carved into the side of a reddish cliff. It was an imposing structure, with two black banners hanging over the entrance, each marked with the same iron crest Liran had seen on the hunter's armor. The fortress looked like a great beast watching all who approached. The gates opened at Captain Sereth's signal. Inside the courtyard, servants hurried about with lowered heads. Soldiers polished blades or drilled in formation. The clanging of metal echoed off stone walls like drum beats of war. Everyone paused when they saw the golden antelope. Gasps rose, whispers rippled, even hardened warriors stared with awe. "Is that—" "It can't be. A creature of legend alive." Sereth raised one hand, halting the murmurs. "Send word to Lord Karun," he commanded. "Tell him the prize he has sought for years is finally his." Two servants sprinted away. The antelope swayed. Liren held her steady. "You must not lose hope," he whispered. Her voice trembled in his thoughts. "My magic dims. The iron binds me tightly. I fear. I will not withstand this place long." "Then I'll find a way to free you," Liren vowed. Yet even as he said it, he knew escape would be near impossible. The fortress was a maze of walls and armed men. They were led through a long corridor decorated with tapestries of battles. Karan slaying beasts, Karan conquering tribes, Karan receiving tributes. Liren felt sick. These walls were not built with honor, but with greed. At last, the group reached a grand hall. Massive pillars flanked a wide marble floor. Gold-lined braziers burned with fragrant oils, and on a raised throne sat Lord Karun himself. He was a broad man with rings on every finger, heavy with gems large enough to blind in direct sunlight. His cheeks were full, his eyes small and calculating. A robe of deep crimson trailed across the floor like a river of blood. When he saw the golden antelope, he rose from his throne so quickly that he nearly tripped over his robe. "By the heavens," he whispered, "it is true. You really found her." Captain Sereth bowed with practiced precision. "As promised, my lord." Karan stepped down from the throne and approached the antelope, his eyes widening with greedy delight. "I have dreamt of this moment for years," he said. "The creature that can produce endless gold, a walking treasure." The antelope lowered her head weakly, not out of respect but out of fading strength. Karan inspected her like a merchant evaluating a fine jewel. "She's injured," he noted. "See to it that her wounds are cleaned, but keep the iron bindings on her. I won't risk her slipping away." Liren could hold his silence no longer. "She's not your property," he said. "She's a living creature." The hall froze. Karan slowly turned to him. "And who is this boy?" the Lord asked. "A troublemaker," Sereth replied. "But he knows the antelope. She trusted him. I thought it wise to bring him." Karan raised an eyebrow. "Is that so?" He stepped closer, looking Liren up and down as though the boy were a curiosity in a marketplace stall. "You must be clever indeed," Karan said. "Tell me, how does her magic work? How do you make her produce gold?" Liren clenched his fists. "She gives only to the kind-hearted, to those who don't exploit her." Karan laughed, a booming, indulgent laugh. "Kindness?" he scoffed. "Boy, everything in this world has a price, even magic, even you." He gestured to two guards. "Take the antelope to the treasury chamber and bring the boy to me." The guards moved in. "No," Liren cried as the antelope was dragged away. "Don't touch her." But Sereth seized him by the shoulders. "Enough," the captain growled. "Lord Karan commands." Liren was pulled before the throne. Karan seated himself comfortably again. "Child," he said, smiling a smile that didn't reach his eyes, "you will teach me everything you know. Every syllable, every secret, every detail that will unlock the magic of this glorious creature. I won't, Liren said. Karen's smile vanished. You will, he replied softly. Because if you do not, I will harm her, and the moment she produces even a handful of gold for me, I won't need her alive anymore. Liren felt the words like knives. You're a monster, he whispered. Karen shrugged. I am a ruler. Monsters are simply rulers who no longer pretend. He snapped his fingers. Take the boy to the lower chambers. Keep him under watch. He will talk soon enough. As the guards dragged Liren away, he saw the golden antelope disappearing through an archway, her once radiant glow now barely visible. Her voice reached into his thoughts, faint as wind through distant grass. Liren, do not give up. He swallowed hard. I won't, he whispered. The lower chambers. The lower chambers were worse than Liren imagined. They were not dungeons. Those would have been simple. These were workrooms for servants, filled with crates, sacks of grain, and rusted tools. The air smelled of damp walls and cold ash. Liren was pushed into a small room with one narrow window high above. A guard locked the door from outside. Liren slumped against the wall, exhausted and furious. He had failed. The antelope was captured. He had no allies near, only Haro, Salme, and Piri, and they were outside the walls. Or were they? He heard a faint scratching. Then, squeezing through a crack near the floor, came Piri the mouse, whiskers trembling. Liren, Piri squeaked. We're here. Behind him, a familiar silhouette limped into view. Haro. And overhead through the tiny window, he saw the outline of Salme perched quietly, watching. Liren's heart surged. His friends had found him. We must save her, he said. Haro nodded solemnly. Salme flapped his wings once in agreement. Piri squeaked with determination. For the first time since entering Karen's fortress, Liren felt hope. Golden Antelope, Part 5. Part 5, Judgment of the Plains. Laron stood in the center of the treasury hall, breath trembling in his chest. Before him knelt Lord Karun and Captain Sareth, frozen in place by the spirits of the Whispering Plains. The golden antelope stood beside Liren, radiant once more, her golden light filling the chamber with warmth. Boy, whispered one of the spirits, its form swirling like morning mist, you have walked with kindness and courage. Now your word shall decide their fate. Karun's eyes bulged with fear. No, please, he cried. You're just a child. You don't understand power, or rule, or Liren stared at him. His palms were sweating, but his voice was steady. I understand what you did to her, and what you wanted to do. Sareth twisted against the invisible force that held him. That creature is dangerous, he spat. You protect monsters. No, Liren said softly. I'm protecting my friends. Karun whimpered. I can give you anything. Gold, a home, power, anything you want. Liren shook his head. I don't want anything from you. The spirits drifted closer, forming a shimmering circle. Decide, they whispered. Liren took a deep breath. They should not die, he said, but they should never hurt anyone again. The spirits nodded as one. So be it. The torches guttered. A wind roared through the treasury, swirling around Karun and Sareth like a storm of starlight. The two men screamed as shadows wrapped around their forms, not hurting them, not killing them, but changing them. When the light faded, Karun and Sareth were gone. In their place stood two small creatures, brown-furred gerbils with long ears and trembling paws. They stared up at Liren with wide, confused eyes. What happened to them? Liren whispered. The golden antelope stepped forward, her hooves glowing softly. They have been bound to the plains, she said, to live as harmless creatures, wandering under open skies with no walls to hide behind. She lowered her head. It is a kinder fate than they deserved, Liren nodded slowly. Yes, I think it is. The spirits drifted away, their duty fulfilled. Their whispers grew softer and softer until the treasury felt empty, like a room just abandoned by a dream. Return to the plains. The fortress guards, freed from Karun's control, fled in panic. Some dropped their weapons and ran. Others simply fell to their knees, overwhelmed by the sight of living magic. Liren, Haro, Salme, and Piri followed the golden antelope through the tunnels and out onto the cool night air. The moon hung enormous over the plains, just silvering the grass. When they reached open ground, the antelope stopped and lifted her face to the stars. I can breathe again, she whispered. The plains welcome me back. Haro nudged Liren's leg. You did it, he said. We all did. Salme landed gracefully on a rock. It is rare, he croaked, for humans to choose mercy. Peary squeaked proudly. Our Lyran is special. Lyran blushed. I just did what felt right. The golden antelope turned to him. You did more than that. You protected the balance of this land. You risked your life when many would have stayed silent. Her eyes glowed like molten gold. For this, I will grant you a gift. Laron shook his head quickly. No, you don't need to. I didn't do this for a reward. She touched her horn gently to his forehead. Light rippled around him, warm and gentle. When you are lost, she said, the plains will answer you. When you are in danger, the wind will guide you. When your heart falters, your friends will hear your call. Then she stepped back. This gift will not make your path easier, but it will make you strong. Lyron felt different, not powerful, not magical, just certain, as if the world had opened a doorway inside him. Thank you, he said softly. The antelope smiled. A dawn of new paths. As morning crept across the horizon, painting the plains gold, the golden antelope approached Lyron once more. I must leave now, she said. The world is wide, and magic cannot remain in one place for long. Will I see you again? Lyran asked. Her eyes softened. Yes, when the time is right. Harrow, Solmi, and Peary gathered around her. We will watch over him, Harrow promised. And guide him, Solmi added. And keep him out of trouble. Peary squeaked. The antelope laughed, a musical, shimmering sound that made the grass sway as if bowing. I trust you. She turned away, her body glowing brighter with each step. When she reached the crest of a hill, she looked back one last time. Remember, Lyran, she said, true strength is kindness chosen again and again. Then she leapt and vanished into a burst of golden light. The plains fell silent. Lyran stood with his three friends, the wind ruffling his hair. So, Peary said brightly, what now? Lyran looked toward the far horizon. Now? A small, hopeful smile tugged at his lips. We go home, and then we see where the plains lead us next. Harrow growled approvingly. Solmi spread his wings to feel the first rays of dawn. The sun rose higher, and the shadows retreated, revealing a land full of possibility. Lyran walked forward, his friends by his side. The whispering plains stirred, soft, ancient, and alive. And somewhere beyond sight, the golden antelope ran freely, her hooves echoing through the heart of the world.